Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to talk about linting instead of Sceptre. Linting is a process where a tool is used to check if the code that you wrote conforms to the convention of that specific language. So for example, YAML has its own rules, JSON has its own rules, Markdown has its own rules, Python has its own rules. So each programming language, even a documentation language like HTML or Markdown, has their own conventions. So in this case, when we write code or configuration for Sceptre, the Sceptre config itself will need to follow YAML rules, and you need to load a CloudFormation template which needs to follow either JSON rules or YAML rules, because CloudFormation template can be written in either JSON or YAML. Now, a lot of times you just write things nicely, but sometimes there are mistakes that were made out of your uh, knowledge, or out of your uh, well, basically, sometimes people just make mistakes and you're not aware of it. Yeah, so in example, I have written a couple of files, a broken JSON, broken MD for Markdown, broken PY for Python files, SH for shell script, and then YAML. Yeah, in each of these files, there are issues, and we are going to run some tools in order to detect these issues. So, for example, with shell script like this bash script, I use a tool called shell check. Let me bring up the website for shell check. Shell check is, where is shell check? Troposphere, this one, shell check. So it's written by Koalaman. You can find the tool from github.com/Koalaman shell check, and you need to install it on your system. Then after you install it, then you can run shell check like this. So let me see if I have shell check. Yeah, I do have shell check. I'm going to run shell check against that file called broken.sh. Yeah, you can see it detects some issues with the file. There are warnings, there are info, and sometimes there are errors. Now you want to have your code written nicely, so the next time it is picked up by someone else to be updated or to be extended, then they won't see all these issues, and they are happy to continue with your work. Then that's shell check. For Python, I use a tool called pre-commit. Where's pre-commit? So pre-commit is published from this website called pre-commit.com. You can find the instructions on how to install it. It's basically written in Python, so you need to install it using pip like that. And then after you install it, you can run your pre-commit against your files like this. So I'm going to run pre-commit against this broken py. Now pre-commit usually automatically try to fix your file. Let's see, pre-commit broken files, broken.py. Sorry, the command is pre-commit run -- files. Yeah, so there are some things that it cannot fix, so we need to fix it manually like this. Then we run the pre-commit command. See if it's happy now. No, still not happy. Oh, okay, like that. Yeah, now it's happy. If we run it again, it won't find any problem. Yeah, so that's how pre-commit fix the Python files. Yeah, and then we can also uh, run linting against JSON file, Markdown file, and YAML files. For these three, I use a tool called ESLint. So ESLint is written in Node.js. So you need to have npm and Node.js and whatnot to install it. So let me break it down how to install the ESLint and all the plugins required to parse all these file types. The way I usually do it is by having nvm. So nvm is Node Version Manager. Where is nvm? This one. So nvm, there's nvm for Linux, there's nvm for Windows. I usually develop my code in Linux environment, so I use this one, not the Windows version. Once you install nvm, then you can choose the Node.js that you want to use. For example, at the moment, I'm using Node.js version 20. If I want to switch to version 16, for example, I can just run nvm use v16. Then I'm using a Node.js version 16. But don't use version 16 because by 2025 it's no longer supported. So people have moved to either version 20 or 22, or at least version 18 by this time. So I'm going to use version 20 for this demo. Then I will need to install yarn. So to install yarn, the command is, once you have selected the correct Node.js version, the command to install yarn is npm install -g, which means global yarn. Yeah, yarn is installed. Then you're going to I'm going to install a couple of commands. So let me copy the script that I usually use to install all this stuff. And here's a list of npm Node.js package, npm packages that I install in order to lint all different file types. So ESLint is the main tool. Then there are there are plugins and then additional package required to lint those files. After I run this command, then I need to put some configuration files for example, for the ESLint, I need to have this configuration file, and then yeah, for the pre-commit, actually, I also need this file, .precommit-config YAML, and yeah, that means I'm ready to lint the JSON, Markdown, and YAML files. So to lint the JSON, for example, I can run the command yarn ESLint, then broken files, broken JSON. Then it will tell all the issues it finds, or all the issues it found from that JSON file. It can also do, and also check the YAML like that. And now, the Markdown is actually not checked by ESLint, but it is checked by another tool called Markdown lint. Markdown lint-cli2. I choose this one. There are plenty of linter for Markdown, but I use this one. So let me run that. Yarn Markdown lint-cli2 broken files broken.md. Yeah. So that's how you can detect issues with your files if they don't confirm with the convention code of that specific language. Now, usually, I don't want to run this manually all the time. I just hook it up with the pre-commit event in my Git commit to make sure that before I commit my changes, all these issues will be detected. So no dirty code will be committed into my source code. Yeah. So in the previous command where I install all those npm packages, one of them is Husky. Husky is responsible to prepare the Git configuration. So Husky will insert these hooks, yeah, which means it will populate this directory called .husky /_, and then the event that we want to update is this pre-commit, and then I have, so this will call another pre-commit file under .husky, and this file is custom, so that's not prepared by Husky, but I put it there. And this will call yarn git pre-commit, and the definition for git colon pre-commit is in the package JSON. This one. This is defined in my init repo script. This one. So basically, it will call another tool called lint stage. So what it does is, when you say, for example, you want to push your changes to your Git repo, you first execute the command git add. Wait, before I call git add, let me check the status of these files. So there are many updated files or new files, and they are printed in red, which means they are not staged. Yeah, but the green ones, they are staged. So these these stage files in green, they will be picked up by lint stage, and then these two called lint stage, and then based on the configuration in this file.lintstage.rc, there will be tools that will be run against certain file types. So for example, for all those stage files, if those files have the extension of JS, TS, TSX, JSON, YAML, and YAML, YML, and YAML, they will be parsed by ESLint. If the files have the extension of .sh, they will be parsed by shell check. If it's .py files, it will be checked by pre-commit. If it's .md file, it will be checked by markdown lint CLI2. So that's the concept now. So there are stage files and there are non-stage files. If I try to run git commit now, it will be checked. The pre-commit event will trigger those checked against these files, but not these. Yeah. So even though there are two versions of these, for example, broken.json, one that has been staged, one that's not staged, the tool will only check the stage file, not this one. So let's try to run git commit with the message test linting. See, it will pick all these issues in the stage files and will say, no, I cannot proceed with the commit because there are issues with the stage files. And that's how you prevent your the repo from getting dirty codes. You fix them, and then once the linter is happy, the linting process produce good result, then you can proceed with the commit. So let's do that. I'm going to fix some of these files. So for example, this one is supposed to be written like this. That's better. And add new line at the end. Broken MD. Now this needs to have header at the top and then some spacing around this block code. Then we need to define the type of the block code. So it should be shell Python. We have fixed that. Shell. This one is expecting some arguments. So hello world. That should be fine. YAML. That's wrong. So there are two issues here. This one should not be indented, and this one is redefining file one at the from the top. So if we have fixed all these issues, we're going to re-add those files, then rerun the git commit. Now it's happy, and you can proceed with committing your code. Then you can push your code back to your repo. Thank you for watching.